It's always using my language, my thoughts, which, obviously they're the things that are unique to you and your business. AI can't copy that. No one can take your secret sauce of the way that you think about things in your exact perspective.
Welcome, Leith Hudson. She's the founder and creative director of Leith Co., a branding studio helping ambitious women become the go-to expert in their space through strategic branding, storytelling, and design. Welcome, Leith.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for accepting the invitation, and I'm impressed. You've been working as a specialist in branding before even personal branding was so popular, right? So what got you into this business?
It's been a really interesting career journey. I started out my professional career working in real estate, but I knew that it wasn't something that just sort of lit that fire in me. So I took a sharp turn and I studied fashion design because I've always been really passionate about design. And funnily enough, a tutor when I was at uni said, look, I think the graphic design part of this is where your heart actually lies. And at the time, I didn't want to sort of, go down that path. But then fast forward a couple of years trying to get a business off the ground, and you very quickly realize how much capital is required for a fashion business. So I thought, what's a way that I can bring, my business smarts as well as the passion for design and storytelling, and branding was this beautiful intersection where all of those things overlap. So Leith Co. was born.
That's lovely. And it's amazing how when we go and pursue our dreams, then the vision gets clearer as we walk the path, because you went into your career with one idea in mind and then it ended up being something different. So it's good that you allowed yourself to be surprised by how things turned out and just to be flexible, right? Because sometimes even now as business owners and with a changing world, we need to be flexible and adapt. So how was in this trajectory of 6 years, your journey, and how much did you have to adapt your offers and your message?
Yeah, it's 100% correct. I think, you start off business thinking, this is going to be who I serve, what I offer, how it plays out. But it can be really surprising how it all unfolds. And I think not having come from a creative studio background, in some ways, I think it's a strength because I wasn't hemmed in by all these constraints and, that this is how we have to do it kind of mentality. So, when I started, there was a lot more, offering people creative writing services or, for real estate agents, because I had that background, like ad copy. And I guess, as the years have gone on, things like AI has meant that some of that work has kind of tapered off, and even things like Canva, where it's those sort of like bread and butter kind of turnover design items are not really required. And I think it's really it's been great because it's filtered me more down that path of helping people with the big picture thinking, really thinking about, their brand strategy and what makes them different and sets them apart, which I think is what's really at the heart of branding, trying to answer the question of what makes you different and why someone should choose you.
And I think we're aligned there because as a communication coach, I often empower women finding their own voice.
Yes.
And just being unique and embracing what makes them unique, which sometimes it's a bit scary, right? To say like, this is me.
Yeah, absolutely. It can feel really scary to be vulnerable and put yourself out there in that way. But I think the irony of it is that when you do and you're brave and you put yourself out there, you really do. It sounds like a cliche, but you attract the right people because, they're going to resonate with your message. And chances are the things you believe in and your values will come across, and it will just spark something in them to say, this is the person that feels right for me to work with. So it's a huge asset if you can kind of get over that initial fright and fear of putting yourself out there. It's so worth doing, and I think then the wins feel even bigger because it feels like this is who I really am, and people are resonating with that, which is powerful.
Definitely. And I always say having those values and showing them not just in your branding but also in your actions and being able to reflect fully who you are. But I feel like we have a challenging environment with social media trying to make every content super polished. how can we stay true to who we are in that environment?
I think what you mentioned before about really knowing, deep down who you are, and then the business values that, are an extension of you. And coming back to not just posting for the sake of posting, I think it's really important, trying to think ahead and think like, what's the purpose of this content? What am I trying to say with it? And does this really align with, who I am and what the business is trying to achieve? Because I think people, knowing how much, AI is in use, they're really like starting to get that skepticism and that radar for like, this feels, like something that someone's just punched out with AI rather than their genuine thoughts. So I think it's really, as much as AI is a fantastic tool and I use it in my business every day, I think just getting, really intentional about your messaging and your positioning and what you're saying is important, because people want to feel like they are connecting with something authentic and someone who reflects those values that they see themselves and believe.
I came across recently with posts which sound very much the same, like blend, because they have been generated by AI. But also I understand from a business owner's perspective and a solopreneur how much we need AI to make the social media game sustainable, because it's amazing how much time it takes to create the content, and we need to create like at least 3 posts a week. So how can we navigate that from a brand perspective to keep those posts coherent and aligned, and not just posting because I need to post whatever I can think of?
That's a really thoughtful question. And I think taking the time at the beginning of your branding journey or your business journey to really get the foundations right, because branding is so much bigger than just the visuals and, how it looks, like your colors and your fonts and any graphics. It actually comes down to how you're positioning yourself and the words that you use. And I think if you start from a base of the way I use AI is that I will just bash out sort of like a stream of consciousness almost of like what I'm thinking, what I want to post, and what I would like the point to be. So it's always using my language, my thoughts, which, obviously they're the things that are unique to you and your business. AI can't copy that. No one can take your secret sauce of the way that you think about things in your exact perspective. So I think starting from that place and then just allowing, AI maybe to polish, that last 5 or 10%, but you want the vast majority to be, your thought leadership, your ideas, the way you think about things. And then I think, allowing it to just polish it up and maybe help you make a hook way more effective. Those things are great. And I stand by it. I use it, and AI is a fantastic tool if you use it the right way. If you're just saying, come up with 10 to 15 ideas and just copy pasting, I think that's where it gets a bit dangerous, because it's just regurgitating like, what's already out there.
And also because it's killing our creativity. If we use it that way, we suddenly feel like we're not longer creative and that our ideas are not valuable because AI's ideas are better. So I was wondering, in your case, how did you also navigate being the creative and being the business owner, and what challenges did you find in making your business sustainable?
That, again, I'm loving the questions. They're amazing questions. I think, naturally business is more and more digital. Like, we can have meetings digitally, we can do training digitally. And I think taking some time to, dedicated time to switch off from digital. I'm a huge reader. I love watching shows. And I think really, connecting and taking in and still going back to those things that you just as a person really enjoy doing. Like, I find inspiration in the most interesting places, like conversations with a friend or my 5-year-old, because they think about things in a totally different way to us. Going to an art show, seeing a movie, going on a trip, you get more expansive. I think actually making time to get off that comparison wheel of, what's everybody else doing on social media, that's going to keep things connected to you and your ideas as a person.
I definitely agree. Nurturing the relationship with yourself and with your own voice is what makes you unique, and loving yourself and coming from that place of acceptance and being creative around your unique way of seeing the world and just trusting that vision. For me, it has been really important. So thank you very much for sharing. And I want to encourage everyone who's been listening to contact Leith. So we're going to leave her contact details in the description of the podcast. But before we say goodbye, I wanted to ask you for a special message for someone who's thinking of starting their personal brand, but they are not sure because they know that it will take a lot of commitment once they started.
So one piece of advice that I would offer is to realize that, yes, it's fabulous if you like your branding, but just recognizing that really your branding isn't for you. It's a bridge between your ideal customers and clients and you, and tapping into what makes you different. So I find it, so even as someone who does it every day, it can be, I heard this quote where it's really hard to read the label from inside the jar. Sometimes our own business, we're so close to it. So I think being able to work with somebody else who can see an outside perspective in on your business is really, really helpful to sort of get that bird's eye view, the 100-foot view of your business and what makes you unique, because that can be really challenging to see for yourself. So that would be my best advice, just connecting with someone you trust to help you with that process and do it right from the start.
Thank you very much. You've been really generous and I loved your perspective. So it's been lovely to meet you and I hope that we can see each other again. I saw you speaking on stage, so I look forward to hearing you again on stage soon. Do you have any event coming up?
Oh, I am working on something in the background at the moment that I'm really excited to launch for later in the year. So if anyone wants to connect and find out more details the moment that it's launched, you and your community will be the first to know about it.
Sounds amazing. I'll stay tuned.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.